Sup team, how we going? First off, I just want to say a huge thank you to all you out there for supporting this Assorted Kiwi podcast. Life is assorted, taste is assorted, our minds are assorted, and our stories are assorted. The Assorted Kiwi podcast is where Kiwis can share their assorted perspectives, ideas, and dreams. Assorted is all about Kiwis connecting through what is important to them. Every idea is important to who you are. Some may miss, but the best ideas are the ones that challenge ways of thinking and also emotionally connect people to one another. This is the definition of the Assorted Kiwi. Yo, yo, yo. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome back to the Assorted Kiwi show, aka what we've rebranded it to, Origins, because as anyone has noticed on this Assorted Kiwi show, we are kind of doing origin stories of just awesome Kiwis doing awesome stuff. And a little intro of the guest to my left. You already know the drill. So, how I know this brother? Well, really, I've kind of known about this brother, but really haven't really met until probably 24 hours ago, really, where we've actually spent some decent time getting to know one another and just having yarns. But I just, from the conversations that we have had over the last 24, you just got to respect the journey and the hustle, because I'm just, I'm always about supporting people who have that drive from day dot and believe in what they're doing for what they believe in and their purpose, you know what I mean? So, to the guest to my left is Liam K. Swiggs.
Yeah, bro.
How we going, bro?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you for coming here, bro.
Easy.
And probably just to start off, it's probably before we get into what is everything that you do in your remit or in your style and where you're from and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really do a good intro, but I mean, it is what it is.
It's all good,
but there's a clear reason why I'm probably wearing something a bit different. Usually I wear my Assorted get up, but this here, guys, is actually my Leavers jersey of 2018 from Otago Boys High School. So anyone out there who has one of these, yo, dope. But this is actually like a league jersey, and it's kind of wearing this because you're a massive league fan, brother.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, bro. Love it.
Love it. And what made you get into league? What is it about league or just sports? Because you love sports, eh?
Yeah, I love sports. I'm a big league man, big cricket man. I hate rugby union, but I don't know. Rugby league to me kind of represents where I come from and shit. Working class. Yeah.
And just the fast pace of it.
Yeah, the simplicity of it, which I guess almost doubles back a bit towards the music that I make and I DJ and shit.
Hard. And just to touch on league before we get into the whole music stuff, because the music story is just awesome. And again, it's origin, so we want to find it's kind of origins, state of origin, kind of thing. It's kind of fuzzy, how things work. But I mean, the thing that I like about league, and I'm not fully into league, but I know why people like league is just the high energy surrounding it and how fast paced it is relative to other sports.
Totally.
And just the amount of massive hits and where they're putting their bodies on the line or their souls out there just to be completely mauled over, and you got to commit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't commit into a particular tackle or a run,
you're going to get done.
You're going to get done. And there was a bar right there. But slight transition out of league into just what you do, bro. If you were in an elevator and kind of just an executive summary of what you do, brother, what would you say? Because you do a lot of cool, dope stuff.
Yeah, bro.
So just talk to us through that, particularly if no one actually knows of you. Pretend what would you say to someone who doesn't know who you are?
I don't know. I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, eh? So I
DIY pioneer?
Yeah, bro. Quite DIY. I run a record label down south in Christchurch called the Big Fresh Collective, and we've been running for about 7 years. So I kind of, manage everything to do with it, from the organising, the graphic design, and the whole hustle of it. So
that's me.
Yeah. I'm a DJ almost first and foremost, and then I started production a few years ago. But currently studying a Bachelor of Design and Visual Communication. So yeah, I'm getting back on that graphic design thing. Which is always was always like something I just kind of picked up on my own. I guess a lot of my skills come from the sense of like saving money and being a bit of a hoary cunt, not paying other people to do shit, and
you kind of like, and it's kind of like when you have like independent like record labels are just doing stuff independently, like do you find like you didn't really want to ask people for help because you wanted to learn those skills and do it yourself, and you get more pride out of doing it yourself and learning that. And it's kind of funny that you're going back doing your bachelor's now, but you're kind of already, you've been doing stuff. And it's the cat, if you can see him, he's just, want to see what the boy's up to. It's funny that you probably in the last like 7 years done a lot of that stuff without knowing the theory or that stuff. But it's funny going back.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that path as well, bro, because like, when did it start for the whole music stuff? You've always been into music, before doing the DJ? Like,
yeah, totally.
Take us through the origin story of like, maybe what was the kind of first like bit of music that you fell in love with, bro? Like what made you just love music?
So I put a lot of it down to my parents. They're pretty working class. Dad was a mechanic, mum was a banker, and they just had a really fucking sick taste in music, And like, I guess that's where it all started. And like when I was going to high school, I was really involved in like the death metal and black metal scene down in Christchurch. But all my mates were in bands and I wasn't, but I always felt like, like no discredit to some of the boys, but like I was kind of in love with music, but I never really played. I don't know how to play any instrument. So yeah, I guess I really enjoyed learning about music, just loved listening to it, loved collecting it and like the whole background sort of thing. Like, but I wouldn't say like, I'm in the background, but like, I just fell in love with music from a young age and just started like building like a digital database since I was about 11 years old, just like burning shit to put on my iPod and like, it kind of like got real OCD and out of hand. It was like collecting as much sort of like different types of shit I could. And then like, naturally I kind of went down the New Zealand hip hop path when I was younger. My dad played a lot to me, but like when I was finishing high school was like definitely the sort of like what I'd call the golden era, you know what I mean, of like homebrew, and then of course like Razor Beezer, Team Dynamite, Third Eye with like Mellow Downs and like the whole Young, Gifted and Broke movement, J Knight.
Yeah, J Knight. Shout out to J Knight.
Shout out
like to floating around during the day, not at the night time anyway. So.
J Day Night.
J Day Night. Hard.
Yeah. And then like, I don't know, just always having an interest in like, indie alternative music, watching DIY sort of labels, like really into Flying Nun, like the old Kiwi stuff. And I guess when I finished high school was the like, again, like the real golden era of internet music when SoundCloud and Bandcamp were becoming like quite prevalent.
Got you.
And I just kind of repeated what I saw, and like, coming from Christchurch and New Zealand, like it's like it was in like open slate. There wasn't just really much going on, or like, and it's like a formula or something. You like figure it out. Like all you got to do is just fucking put something out and say you're doing it. You know. Hard.
And like I'm from Dunedin, from the south. It's even I'll probably like go back, and that's kind of like the cool thing, bro. Like being from the south, because we kind of had a realization last night that obviously we're up in Auckland, but it's probably rare for me to be in a room of the three of us. We're all from the south, but we're in Auckland. Like 10 years being up here, that hasn't happened, and it was kind of monumental.
Totally,
which is kind of cool. But like, even when you think about when you got into like music earlier on, was it kind of you were doing it by yourself, like it's kind of solace time? Like you kind of found yourself through the music in a way? Or?
I guess, like, and then I think that's when the DJ thing come in, like it was by myself, but at the same time, like I guess I was a DJ from way back because I just wanted to force all my mates to fucking listen to the like, cool tunes that I'm listening to.
And were you like
shit.
kind of DJ in terms of the iPod?
Yeah,
DJs,
like the aux cord. The aux cords where it all started, bro.
And everyone out there, knows the iPod classic era, like, Now, I don't know if you did the same. I did it a lot, bro. I used to take my iPod Classic everywhere.
Yeah,
and
totally.
There was always a computer, and there was always a USB with the kind of square connector, and I used to go and collect music like it was, my iPod was a Pokedex.
Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally,
and like,
yeah.
And even the OCD part, I think we talked about it when we were at Real Groovy, like when I just had a kind of a sort of pre-interview question before we even did this. It wasn't really premeditated either, but like how OCD, and you learn OCD about like how your iTunes library is, and you learn a lot about music through that because you're researching through the internet of the correct the correct song labels,
totally,
producer credits, or even just like the album artwork, and it opens your eyes up to something that like, whoa, this is bigger than just being in my room in Christchurch or in Dunedin. Learning so much about music, like tuition into the school of music. It's just crazy.
Yeah, fully. I guess it's something I kind of do with like my design career as well. Like you just can't really like get enough content, you know. I'm always like watching random shit on Netflix, even if it's just in the background. Yeah, just like taking it in, even if it's like subliminal to a certain extent, and like, you know, being influenced by everything, like building that XP points up and shit, you know.
That's awesome, bro. So like you're saying 7 years ago that you started Big Fresh?
Yeah, January 2014, eh?
That's awesome that you got the date, because it's clearly like a monumental moment, and you could probably think back to even talk to us about, because you kind of had the origin story of like getting into music, like metal, into like hip hop and all the other sort of genres that exist out there, because there's so many.
Yeah.
But before Big Fresh, like what was the tipping point for you to come up with that concept, right? And like, what did you remember the kind of nucleus of that?
Oh yeah, totally.
Like,
what
was that about?
So it was definitely like in the midst of that like New Zealand hip hop era I was talking about before, the whole Young, Gifted and Broke thing. I actually went up to Laneway in Auckland. I actually come up with the Big Fresh Collective in a hotel on Queen Street, and I just started doing a bit of like freelance sort of like music journalism blogging, and it was just like I was really into Hunter S. Thompson and Acid at the time. That's why I call myself Liam K. Swiggs, and I was wearing a bucket hat all the time and shit. Yeah. Shout out Sky Pirates. But yeah, like I was just sort of starting to become friends with people that I like really looked up to in like a real natural way, and then I started writing about it, just kind of like, it's like my writing style still, but it's still doing a bit of journalism at the moment. I just try and write like I speak, and I think people really appreciate it.
It's authentic. It doesn't come across as like kind of forced or unauthentic. It's just being you, and it's relatable.
Yeah, totally. And that was the whole start, and we pretty much just operated as like a sort of like music journalism thing about Kiwi, like hip hop, especially for a little while there.
Just a unit in terms of documenting what was going on. And I know you were saying it's the golden era, but it's kind of like, I would like to say that even from my like New Zealand hip hop, like not historian, I hate to say that, but like it's kind of like the kind of second era.
Oh yeah, I'd almost.
Hip-hop, but it's really sometimes it's the one that's the last 10 years is really influential in terms of still doing their thing, and that real internet era of New Zealand hip hop,
like maybe the golden internet era, right? Like
Like
no hate to like, because I love my old school like Kiwi hip hop and shit as well.
Decepticons, Four Corners, everything.
Oh, more like Urban Disturbance, like DLT,
Red Eye Society.
Hard.
But that's cool, bro. Because like you start off just as a group of your mates, just kind of replaying it back to you, like group of your friends. Went by the Big Fresh Collective, and where did the Big Fresh come from? Like, it wasn't because of the Big Fresh supermarket, or was it, bro? Like,
it was kind of on accident, eh? Like, I think originally I said, like, we were, like, struggling for a name. We kind of had the thing, which is funny because I'm, like, I fucking love coming up with names for shit now, but, like, we called ourselves, like, the Big South Fresh House, and I just thought it was kind of shit. And, like, I think I got on the piss one night, and I was like, oh, yeah, the Big Fresh Collective, because, like, all this shit on Bandcamp, you know, everyone was, like, going on about, like, fucking collective this, collective that.
Yeah, the collective era. That was probably like the early 2010s.
Yeah.
It kind of faded out a little bit, like post like 2015.
Yeah.
Where they kind of the collective morphed into actual retail shops. Like the collective's probably like a store out there. Like shout out to the collectives if they exist or whatever. But no, that's dope, bro.
Yeah, and then like I guess it was a little bit of a solo venture writing for the time, but like then we got a radio show like about, it was like 5 months after that, sort of late 2014 on Pulsar FM, which is this like I'm not really like affiliated with them anymore, but it's like an old man dance disco radio station. Like it's like some weird 90s like electronic sort of shit. Cool people. Yeah. So we needed a name for the radio show, and like I started it with my bros Demp and Retax, who are like, you know, Māori and a Samoan fella, and they're like a little bit older than me. They're quite a bit older than me, and they started teaching me how to DJ as well, but you know, they were too shy to jump on the mic, so I just sort of become the host of the show.
Okay, got you.
I used to have to get drunk because I was like super nervous about the 10 people that'll be listening. Like,
got you. But it's kind of like, I think we talked about off the air, like about like nerves. Like,
yeah.
Like it's kind of good to, if you're nervous for a reason, because you see the potential, you believe in it, and you don't want to stuff up. So it's kind of a sign that like you're on the right path if you do have those nerves. I'm pretty sure you said, like, if you went out on a date and you weren't nervous, then it's going to be a flat conversation. It's probably going to be flat waveforms. You know? So it's dope.
Yeah, totally. Nervous energy is always good.
Hard. So like so it kind of went on the radio station. There was the evolution of kind of just writing about the culture that you were like really inspired about. But
and then I guess we had like a different platform as well with the radio station, so we could play the music to people and shit like that. You know what I mean?
Showcase it.
Yeah.
And probably the part of the intro I should have said, well, probably wouldn't have made sense, but it makes sense now. That I probably stumbled across Big Fresh Collective because of your graphic design, and of like using like iconic Kiwi iconography, and flipping it, and it was the Foot Mahi one, which is the home brand, the home brand bootleg, and that was cool because now my brother Scapegoat Mercy was on there, and that's kind of like, you know, and it was around that collective time. I was like, oh, collective, that sounds dope. Like, Big Fresh Collective, yo, I like Big Fresh as a supermarket. Please bring back Big Fresh. We used to animated figures and everything. You used to press buttons. But
hard out. If anyone's got any of those vegetables and they want to hook them up, that'd be mean. I saw one on Trade Me for fucking $5,000 a few years ago. Yeah, I was like, we ain't getting any government funding. So
I used to remember one, like there was one down Dunedin. It was a press a button, and there was this monkey doing like, I don't know, like circus gymnastics or whatever, and he like would fly across the supermarket, and that was fire as a kid. So it's kind of, I don't know,
or potentially traumatizing,
borderline. But that's dope, bro. So like the gateway for you to do the DJing was learning from like your two mates around the radio station where they didn't want to be on the mic, but you were on the mic. Yeah,
just the bros,
you kind of like, and this is probably a loose comparison, but you know, Ludacris.
Yeah.
Like before he started making music, he was on the mic as a radio. It's kind of like you're like the Christchurch Ludacris.
Well, I wouldn't knock that comparison.
You wouldn't knock it? Nah, it's nice, but like, what was the first Big Fresh were they compilations to begin with? Like, was it just really just putting on for the music, kind of ripping just probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have the radio set. Would you record them and then put it out as a kind of a tape, or what was the process?
No, that was
your first one.
It was like the radio shows were like definitely live to ear, and I was kind of learning to DJ, just like, you know, like garages, caravans, like sleep outs and shit around Christchurch where all the bros lived, and like I wasn't really getting much chance apart from at the bros to DJ, so I was kind of learning to DJ live on radio, which is always like got a high pressure environment, And then I moved to Wellington, like away from the bros in Christchurch in 2017, and Big Fresh kind of stagnated for a little bit. I was like kind of stopped writing at about 2016 for a good few years there. I was just kind of over it, and
just kind of
it was quite saturated all of a sudden as well. Like, you know, there's a lot of like cool New Zealand sort of media outlets like starting to write up about local music and shit, and
you don't want to get lost in the noise. You don't want your
I
to
guess
kind of get
our energy's like redirected as well a bit. So then when I was in I've always loved compilation albums. Like growing up as a kid, they were always like a really good opportunity to discover new artists and shit like that, you know. So when I was in Wellington, I kind of come up with the Foot Mahi #1 was our first release and our first compilation. And yeah, like it's I guess it's not the reason I do it, but it's a pretty good sort of like effort to reward like ratio, you know, like you come up with the concept, you find your friends and shit that are making music. It's only one track from everyone. It's the logistics of it can be hard, but like you put it all together, you know, and it's like a fucking when you get like a sampler of Griffin's pack or some shit at Christmas, you know, like you get to try a little bit of everything and like, yeah, just kind of put everyone on and like, I guess like again, no one was doing that shit. So yeah, we did it.
Really? That's awesome, bro. Because like, it's kind of what you're back in before 7 years ago, about 2014, 15? Like probably early to even back in intermediate for me or primary school, it's like there's now music compilations.
Yeah.
But they were very much like, you might have the occasional Kiwi act on there, but like really you were kind of like doing the new internet golden era of music. You were doing it for New Zealand music and that kind of a now template, but using Kiwi, just Kiwi culture.
Like, totally.
Really showcasing it and shining our light to it at different levels.
Yeah.
So was that kind of through in Wellington, once you kind of noticed that there was a lot of other people, like other different outlets creating this content, you kind of was that kind of you purposely kind of mini hiatus, so to speak, but then got back into it because you're like, no, well, I was already kind of doing this in a way, like I want to really take it to the next level.
Yeah, I don't know, like Wellington was a really weird year for me. Like when I look back on it, it's like I really enjoyed like who I met up there and shit, but I didn't really have the best time, And like I went up and I couldn't crack a radio show on Radioactive, which is kind of funny looking back on it now. Like I asked around and like no one would give me a shot, you know, and I was on RDU for 6 months down south before I went up and kind of left that all behind to go up, move. And I just stagnated on the chop bongs for a year, you know what I mean? Couldn't get a job. My old fucking referee, Mike from Mitre 10, sad cunt, was fucking me up getting any jobs anywhere, and I finally got a job at New World, then I got dumped and I was kind of like, fuck this, and moved home back to all the boys and like, then we got back on track. But during then, you know, the only thing I really did was like Foot Mahi, and then we released a J-Night EP as well, and like then when I was back home, I was like back on my shit, I was fucking hungry, and like it's just been like pretty intense role last 3 years since then, just haven't really stopped.
But it was kind of like you needed to get away from kind of home to kind of know where you're most comfortable at. You're kind of like, you love it down in the South, you're kind of comfortable being there.
Hell yeah.
But like good being able to pop up into different places and network and sponge it up and then take what you've learned from a design or music or just general vibes and then bring it back forward.
Yeah, totally.
It's on, bro. So Foot Mahi, that was kind of the first. And what's after Foot Mahi? Like what when you started feeling, with Foot Mahi you were kind of like, I guess we're cool, it's building.
Yeah.
I mean, heaps of energy into it.
Yeah.
But that was around, what was that,
2017? Yeah, like sort of 3/4 of the way through it. Yeah.
And then that was when you got back to Christchurch.
Yeah, I come back like
transition from Wellington to Christchurch.
Yeah, like December, and then
and then you full on like in your room. Okay, I'm gonna commit and do this. Like, I don't have a job. This is the thing. This is the entity I believe in.
Yeah,
I've kind of been sitting on for a while.
No job. Haven't had a job since not a full-time job.
Full-time job.
But I went to Mains in 2018, and I studied DJing and music production, just so my family wouldn't give me a hard time for being on the dole and shit. Kind of looked like I was doing something. And I already knew how to DJ, but it was really good. I got to spend a whole year just DJing, learned how to DJ sober as well, which was kind of cool.
Okay.
And then I think the big thing there was I learned how to produce music, and
all through that DJing school.
Yeah,
just in terms of like the mixing and then understanding science.
Yeah,
also of the music beyond what you already had done up to that point, research wise.
Yeah, I think with like Ableton and shit, like it's an interesting pathway to learn how to like DJ first and then produce. Like I still like, it's kind of embarrassing when I show people my Ableton files and shit. I pretty much like produce as if I'm DJing, except you're stripping it down from, instead of blending two songs, you're like, you know, blending little bits of like drum tracks and like breaks and shit like that. Yeah, like I'm quite sample based. I don't really know much music theory, but I wouldn't say I don't give a fuck about it. I don't really want to, because it kind of clouds, you know,
what you're doing.
Yeah, same with design, which I'm finding interesting doing the degree at the moment. It's like I kind of know what I'm doing. I wouldn't say it's self-taught, but like, you know, you got to be careful. Like sometimes people cloud their minds, I think, anyway, a little bit too much with like
kind of getting lost in the prescription of how everything, to do things.
Yeah.
When you lose sight of the process that actually you develop subconsciously for yourself, that works out well, but then you get a better value when you get put into situations where they're telling you, oh, this is the way to do it. But you're like, well, I did it, but I just did it my way. Like, but it's all good to have that that comparison, all that kind of how you've done everything up to that point. And the relativity of, okay, this is what is prescribed, but how do I flip it in my own way? But like how you do the iconography, or just like things that people know of, whereas Nintendo 64s, I mean, flip it because it is recognizable.
Totally.
Talk us through like how that even started, bro. Was it just a conscious decision of just like
the video game stuff?
Well, just the design element of like how you get like the home brand, and then what made you go down that path? Was it just like, it makes sense with what you're putting on?
I guess like a big thing is like, you know, everyone's like everyone's design is like quite like on point, quite European and shit. People that are doing the same thing take themselves pretty seriously and shit. And like I guess our whole angle, it's like we take ourselves really fucking seriously, but like you kind of like in a lighthearted way and like have fun doing it. Like I don't know, we're just a bit hoary and shit, eating a lot of home brand food, and I just thought it would be kind of like,
you just saw it and you keep staring at this same tin of baked beans.
Like the 2-ply toilet paper or some shit.
Hard.
And it was just like,
how do you flip it?
It was just just an idea which, like, you know, spiraled down the path. Like it was an idea in one moment that, like, you know, continued on.
And it was kind of like taking that idea. And is that kind of a summary of kind of what you do, where you have an idea about something, but you want to execute it as soon as possible to see what it is when it's when you do it? You don't want to just like, I have an idea and write it down. You more have an idea and actually execute it. And then see the product and then develop it from there.
Totally. Like I think I come from, and it's not like a diss again to anyone, I come from a culture of a lot of people sitting there spending a lot of time making heaps of cool tracks and shit like that, sitting on it, never releasing it, you know. And I just thought it was like, one, there was a step there where we could be the people to kind of break that a little bit, and two, it was like, you know, when you come up with an idea, it's always best to like get it down when it's fresh. So I guess what I wound up doing was like, sometimes I'd just like have a mean as night on the piss, because you know, I love to drink piss, and a lot of my good ideas come when I'm half cut off the Hargans, and like I would plan out the next year and a half of shit in one night, because I would just have all these brainwaves because I was in the zone.
And you kind of like look at your horizons and planning and just like from my like kind of like 10 years of like working in like kind of corporate stuff is like you're doing it from the ground up, but having that full process is not everyone has that. Of translating those thoughts. Not necessarily on paper, but on some sort of metaphorical whiteboard that only you can see. But it's your process of getting that, and you have your plan that you're committed to. That you have done. It's kind of empowering in a way when you have control of those thoughts, or you have an idea and you can kind of rationalize it or strategically do it for what the purpose of that nucleus is, right? Which is on.
Totally,
It's so cool, bro. Like, when and this is probably where we've talked on, we haven't really touched on it for this, but Footwork. How was that? Was that before at the early stages of?
It's about the same time. About the same time, like when I sort of started DJing, might have been like a year prior to when the Big Fresh Collective started as a blog.
Yeah.
And down in Christchurch, a lot of people love filthy drum and bass, which I'm not really a fucking fan of, to be honest. But like, I love the idea of like, jungle and like
and a movement coming from an area that's so far removed from New Zealand, and it's like, wow, this energy from it.
Yeah, well, I guess what I was gonna say, like, I love drums and bass, but like traditional drum and bass is what people know it today. Like, isn't really my scene, but
you respect it nonetheless.
Yeah, I respect the origins of it. I'm not really the biggest fan of like the movement and shit. It's like a little bit like, I guess that's the point of difference. Like,
oh yeah, everyone has their entitled to.
I think I'm a bit jealous. I got all the coin and shit too. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of like, but I guess so. What happened was like my mates, traditionally playing a lot of drum and bass, and then we sort of like I come across like halftime drum and bass, which is really cool. A lot more jungly, slowed down. Like a lot of the music I listens to is or that I DJ is 160 BPM.
Yep.
I guess traditionally like drum and bass, as most people know, it's about 174. It's like a little bit too fast for me, but the 160 definitely opens itself up to, I think that's the other thing I like. We're a lot of things to cover here, but like with the footwork and juke, like it's open to sample any type of music, like predominantly like a lot of like old rock shit. Like last night I played like Fleetwood Mac sort of remix into like a Stevie Wonder, and then it leans towards like the ghetto side of hip hop, the gangster hip hop sort of vibe a lot more as well.
But blending it across like where you kind of one dimensionally look at all these like Fleetwood Mac all the way to NWA or whatever it is. It's kind of a nice marriage of all genres blending in, and it's respected within this footwork culture.
Yeah, and it was crazy.
And it comes from Chicago, eh? Like, is it maybe like, because I didn't know a huge amount. I heard of it, but obviously sitting next to someone who really like has studied it and really like is committed to really being the godfather of it here. I'm not speaking for you, but like you're probably earlier on it when everyone else was thinking about a lot of the UK drum and bass and all this stuff. You were kind of, no, this is.
I just found it and I stuck. So like going back to the halftime D&B, and these guys are quite tight with the 160 crowd, and it kind of flowed together. And I guess my mate showed me it, and it was like, I wouldn't say it was like a phase for them, but like they showed me and I was just like, fuck, I just stuck to it.
You were in awe of it.
Yeah, it's just so cool. I wanted to learn how to DJ it, and it's
like dance culture as well. Like, that's really where it comes from. Like
totally.
And I mean, you were playing last night, like before the gig and before the EP launch party of
Amamelia.
So shout out to everyone who was involved in that gig, because I didn't have the opportunity to go because it was far too early for me. And I was pretty, obviously have this one to look after, and a man of cat leisure. Can't go to every single gig, especially if they're early on in the morning, but it's just cool to be up here doing it. But prior to that, we were just sitting here playing tunes, and I was like tapping my feet, and then you're like, oh, your feet are tapping, and I was like, yeah, they are. I didn't even notice. But that's kind of that
Foot Mahi,
Foot Mahi, and
it makes you move.
It all kind of connect the dots, and it's the science of music, eh? Like it really does.
I just always found it bizarrely universal. Like you can play it to your mum and shit like that, and they'll probably get down to it. But like, I guess some of the origins of it, what we liked anyway, because like we're quite rough around the edges, I guess you could say, and like that really appealed to us and shit. And the content of the lyrics can go from something like some weird fucking Fleetwood Mac remix to something really,
like
really
ICP sort of.
Oh, probably not the Juggalo shit, but like
not.
Or just some of that, like, because the ghetto house side of things, so it's fucking nasty, It's just real gnarly shit, just talking about fucking sucking dick and like fucking, like sorts. Fucking hoes and shit like that. And we're just like, damn, And then you can do the crossover, and it's like you get your mum into you playing the Fleetwood Mac remix, and then you drop something real dirty, and then like she's still grooving, and it's like, that's crack cool. Up.
And is it like would you that footwork juke culture, like is it sounds very inclusive of many people, right, and many styles. And I mean, what you're talking to me offline about is that it's a culture that does, from the sounds that it does produce from it, but it's when you play R&B tunes, it's accepted because it is all part of it. But if you were to play it out with your mates, you're like, oh, well, why are you playing that weak stuff? But it's beautiful music, and you understand, okay, it still makes you move.
It's funny, like there's a couple of points there. I think it's one of the most diverse electronic cultures in modern day music anyway. It's extremely diverse, you know what I mean? There's a huge like female and even gay representation in it, you know. And then like the other thing is like traditionally I'm not really an R&B man, you know what I mean? And like it breathes life into a lot of music that you might really not enjoy otherwise, and not out of hate or anything. It's just like, you know, like fucking like Beyonce or some shit. I'm fucking not really a fan, but
you're not part of the beehive, but you still like can sample and like
there's some really sick flips, like, and it's just incredible.
I mean that's the power of because like Footwork is a derivative of,
it's like ghetto house,
and this is amazing, the connections between different like DJ culture and the branches of different genres that come from it, and just how the power of music is so ever changing, but has different pockets of expression. And this is amazing. Like clearly, my hip hop taste is a lot of hip hop and R&B, but we know that in a lot of that golden era, it was a lot of sampling. A lot of that early to experiment and create new sounds and break new barriers of what the interpretation of their two-step or whatever was.
Totally,
which is just mad respect to, like, I just got all respect of being able to select a sample and then bring it to a new life, or take that one part and flip it in a way that it is reimagined or wasn't realised until you had done it. Or one sample, you give one sample to like 5 different DJs or producers, and be interesting what they do. Do incorporate with it, you know?
You mean like it's a funny one, like again, like I'm not really a huge Kanye West fan, but like I've definitely chucked a couple of tracks down that he's like sampled classic old shit, and like, you know, I play it out, and like,
and they expect the Kanye, but then it's
they'll just pop because they know the sample and shit, and I'm like, I just think it's a sick track. I don't really know where the samples like come from, and it's like, I get like a couple of years ago I was in like a real gnarly car crash, and I had a gig at Strangers Lane in Christchurch, and I played like Sheik West's Mo Bamba remix, and like, you know, me being me, I didn't actually fucking know who Sheik West was or Mo Bamba, and like, and the crowd just went nuts, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I got hoes. I just thought it was cool because it said he's got hoes and shit. I was like, you know, but like, fuck, it went off, and like, I don't know, it's just, it's completely universal and cool in that sense. Like,
that's awesome, bro. Because like, when you started, like, you went after DJ school, or forever DJ school kind of part, which was around 2017. How long was it? Like a year, 2 years?
2018 to like start to finish. And
you met a lot of people, awesome people through that. It was more just like good to rebase your understanding of music and how to produce, and then after class or whatever, you would go off and just take what you learned and then flip it. Like,
I mean, like, awesome group of people. I already knew the faculty pretty much that were like, you know, the staff members. I just knew them through my like journeys around Christchurch town on the piss, going to gigs and stuff. But there's a really cool group of young dudes, and made a couple of like, you know, lifelong friends there. I just kind of took that, and I already had a lot of connections in the music scene, and like, I guess I started producing, and like straight away I just started to see some success just flipping shit, you know.
And what was that first, like, outside of after Foot Mahi, and obviously you released through Big Fresh, like the J Night EP. But what was the one that was like, oh, hang on, this is something else? Like, it's kind of like it exceeded your expectations in a way that, okay, this is actually the Mahi behind everything Big Fresh is actually working now, or it's exceeding your expectations. Like, talk us through that moment. When was it?
I guess it probably could have been Project 64 VIP #1, which would have been late 2018. So like Project 64 is the name of a really popular emulator for the Nintendo 64. You know, we were really into video games. Again, like, I guess not taking ourselves too seriously, like, because, you know, most, like, people on that steed don't want to be like, yeah, I fucking love playing, like, video games from when I was a kid, but, like, you know, we're up that shit. And we made this compilation, and basically you'd just remix any song that was like on a soundtrack on like a Nintendo 64 game and just kind of like footwork it up, juke it up, sort of give it a jungle vibe if you want. You could do whatever you wanted. And it went really, really well, eh? And that's kind of been our other specialty ever since, like doing these sort of video game themed remix compilations, eh? Yeah.
It kind of gives people the opportunity who hadn't actually explored that genre or that kind of movement to kind of step into the ring, so to speak, and kind of flip it around.
Yeah, and then
especially people that, oh wow, like you're bringing people into that world.
Yeah,
and understanding and learning a little bit more about what it does represent.
Yeah, like I guess we definitely had a lot of you know, I stopped being so like, I wouldn't say narrow-minded, like, but I started working with people that weren't necessarily of the 160 discipline, you know what I mean? Local people. And then with Project 64, Foot Mahi being 100% Kiwi music is what we try and, like, producers. With Project 64, we opened it up to the world and, like, you know, in turn and time, we've kind of got to work with some of our favourite, you know, producers of the, like, genre around the world, you know? Like,
that's awesome.
It's been really cool. And then, expanding on that, we kind of had a really cool compilation last year called Breakbeats from the Uncommonwealth, and that was just it was kind of like, again, like a bit of a joke, but it was open to people from the Commonwealth, like some Commonwealth game shit. But like some people like kind of misconstrued the idea. It definitely wasn't like trying to promote like what would you call it, like fucking, what is it called when like English people take over colonialism or some shit.
Yeah. So
like,
you weren't trying to, you're not promoting that, but like I get what you mean.
But more to shine light on, like, you know, New Zealand, and there's a really strong 160 scene in the UK that's been developing the last couple of years, real similar vibes to us, like, and just try to shine a bit of light on both the scenes and unite them a little bit, you know.
That's awesome.
And it really popped off, eh?
That's awesome.
It was fucking cool. And it's a big fuck you, instead of being like, yeah, we're proud to be from the Commonwealth or some shit, you know what I mean? Like,
it kind of has like many entendres, but like the face value of that entendre could be like, it's not necessarily the meaning of what you wanted to do, but basically the product speaks for itself. In terms of how
I guess like the whole the issue when it starts getting a bit bigger and people don't actually know us personally. If they knew us personally, they'd understand that it was probably a piss take, you know. Yeah. But that awesome, was an interesting one.
That's awesome, man. And a slight segue now, like maybe before we go kind of in between this time period, but talk to us about like the last 24, not necessarily just about us and what we did here, but what brought you up here just for this weekend, brother? Like, talk us through, like, I know we're kind of fast forwarding a little bit, but I like to fast forward and then kind of come back and fill in some gaps.
Yeah.
But talk us through what was last night and what was it all about, and you know, any learnings along the way of like being up here as well.
So my good friend Amamelia, really awesome producer from up here in Auckland, like did album called Well through this label called Sun Return, which is run by Zach Arnold, and fucking really awesome album. She's such a, like, you know, multi-disciplined musician, you know, from sort of electronic music to, you know, punk rock to, like, you know, fucking whatever, all over the shop. So she had this remix EP that was being released through Sun Return, and they asked me to do a track on it, and then they were doing a release show at Whammy Bar last night. So I popped up for that.
That's mean, bro.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. Really awesome sort of range of like diversity on the bill, you know, and
that's cool.
It's just a fucking good night.
I know, that's mean. Because like that's and probably leading up, like you've done after the Commonwealth.
Yeah, breakbeats from the Uncommonwealth. Yeah,
that's on. Like, was that kind of when you were really doing like outside of tapes? You were going out and doing a hell of a lot more, so like DJ gigs.
Oh,
as like Liam K. Swiggs, or
kinda.
Is it kind of when did Liam K. Swiggs that entity?
Yeah,
outside of Big
Fresh
like,
Collective.
How did it? Is it kind of that's been the last 3 years, or you always been kind of running the
LKS,
so to speak?
It's like an interesting one, like it is my real name, and like it is kind of who I am, but like the brand as a DJ producer somewhat, I guess, started popping a little bit, like, you know, the last couple of years. Ironically, I can't get booked in my hometown, but yeah, like I've been playing, like, you know, up in Welly, played Palmy North last week, played a couple of Auckland gigs this year, starting to sort of like pop off and get, you know, booked around the country a little bit. Yeah, and kind of like getting asked to DJ for things sort of outside of the Big Fresh Collective, and it's been really cool, just taking that 160 vibe, you know?
Yeah, and it's kind of like funny, like, you know, I find when I hear stories like that, I can't be booked in my own town. It's like, it's kind of funny, eh?
Yeah.
But like at the same time, it's like, well, man, like put on for the people who have been kind of networking in your own town, but you to be able to be up here doing some well success and being able to like network with people, and then go back and people are like, oh, where you been? I've been in Auckland. And they're like, oh, what, really? So you know what you've achieved up to that point. Like, the haters gonna hate, but you know, you just marinate in what you do.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, eh? Don't want to like delve too much into it in case I don't get fucking booked again. But it's like, I don't know. But
it's all part of. I mean, it's part of like kind of like journeys and everything that you do. Like, kind of whether it's criticism or a lack of understanding might be the thing. Maybe I don't know.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know.
But no, you're doing you.
Yeah,
and you know that outside of that you've achieved so much that you kind of manifested and you're on the right path of what you're wanting to do.
Yeah,
right?
totally. And I feel like, I mean, I'm a broke ass motherfucker. So it's like the label's very DIY. We don't make any money. I probably lose $10 a month or some shit, you know. But like,
but the impact is kind of like you can't like cash in or out that impact or the connections that you do make.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I guess what I was gonna say, we'd throw our own shit, but yeah, I just don't really have the coin, and like, you know, the venues are quite limited in like a bizarre way in Christchurch. Like there's a couple of really good small venues, but they're not like overly suited to electronic music. And then another one doesn't really fuck with me, and then the other one is like a little bit too big, you know what I mean, for us to be able to like front any coin. And like, yeah,
but like at the end of the day, like what you do is for New Zealand culture. Like you've got a home everywhere.
Totally, yeah.
Everywhere, right?
Yeah,
like, you know, wherever you post up. Like, you know, up here, it's still part of the country. Like I'm kind of a very firm believer of the walls or buckets exist in this country heavy, even though we're a population of 5 million. But that's just what happens in countries. But being able to go in and find those groups of people that understand what you're about, and respect you for what you have done, and that's priceless. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of, you know, in the back of your head, it's probably not necessarily what you seek. Well, not that validation, but it's kind of, it's nice to have that energy and that support.
It's definitely always nice, eh?
It's nice to have that because it gives you like, it's kind of like a little bit of a mental tick that, I mean, what I've manifested. That did connect. That did result in something that's beyond my wildest dreams.
It's always such an interesting one, eh? Like, you know, no one really ever wants to admit it or say it out loud. Like, we just do it. I just do it because we enjoy it. But there's an element of thinking like, I think this is going to be good. I hope other people enjoy it. You know, it's definitely not for yourself exclusively. Like,
it's for
this is dance music. We're not fucking painting and shit. Like, this isn't like it's an expression, but like there's a purpose, you know. It's kind of like design a little bit. The purpose of the music we're making is for people to either dance or just enjoy themselves. You know what I
the
mean?
purpose is to bring life to something that may not have been exposed before.
Yeah,
or
especially here.
Giving someone a look, and we kind of live in a country where I know we're always looking at overseas. Our sponges are very much. It kind of probably makes us kind of special in a way because we have a very wide range of influences or tastes or what we consume in our minds, that our brains, or what I like to call sponges, are very unique individually because, you know, even yourself, I've like got league, sport, music, just might attend DIY, like it's all kind of like getting to know you and talking about kind of some stories that you have done. It makes sense that you are successful in what you do because you kind of take parts of your kind of your palette, so to speak, and morph them into something that you are proud of, that provides a lot of opportunity for other people to learn more about what you do, but also network with a lot of people that you hadn't actually met before.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know if that was a long-winded explanation, but
it's cool.
It's just cool, and I've got mad respect for anyone who like kind of does everything with the intent of showcasing stuff, and hearing that story from the beginning of when you did, you know, just giving people the opportunity to
I guess
select
like
for New Zealand culture that's on.
Yeah, it's a buzzy one. Even like not even just like not giving other people the opportunity, like it's not mine to give them, almost creating the opportunity, I guess.
Creating
like,
the platform for people to realise the opportunity for themselves.
Yeah, and then like, you know, building a little bit of like camaraderie and shit, and like, it's cool, and like being able to showcase the talent of like, you know, especially like New Zealand producers to the world, you know, it's really cool.
And we've got a huge amount of talent. It's insane.
Oh, fuck yeah. I mean, I guess
crazy.
that's where it all stems back to. I've always believed that like New Zealand, like same with the sporting thing, pound for pound, has to be one of the best countries musically and sporting wise in the world.
Yeah, I was even talking to, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was even talking about like actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Per capita, in terms of people who have been on big screens, or even like small business people who are kind of taking stuff to the world. Per capita, we've got some pretty amazing like icons of impact that have done some amazing things.
Totally.
Which makes us feel like, it's achievable. It's not that it's not achievable, but that we've got a lot to draw from in our own backyards. Like when you go to random gigs and you bump into someone that you end up listening to in your car for like many years, and you're like, whoa, like you're not an alien, like you don't exist. I mean, you can learn from those sort of experiences outside of just like one suburb or one city. Because our whole country has so much to offer, and maybe like talk about, just as a random ass segue, but what do you love about this country, bro? Because I know it is a sort of Kiwi show origin story, but it is a very much a Kiwi platform, and it's kind of, we don't know where people are going to be listening to this. We don't know if this is the one to go like shoot to the stars, aim for the moon. But like, what is about this country that makes it special to you, bro? Like, what do you draw from this country? What energy? I don't know, bro. Like, it's probably a weird question, but
it's a pretty big one because, you know, I really want to answer it well. And I'm a little bit dusty, by the way, but
just man.
I love the people. I love the camaraderie. I love the friendships. I love how slow it is and how removed it is from the rest of the world. And like, you know, I love the belief that we all have in ourselves. Like, you know, don't like rugby union, but like that whole All Blacks shit. Like, you know, we're world beaters, and like, you know, we
tastemakers.
Yeah, tastemakers. We can rate ourselves.
World beaters. Tastemakers, just all around, man, palette collectors.
Yeah, totally.
We're just like,
I mean, like growing up, you know, especially in the 90s and shit, you're just so exposed to like American culture, I guess, what we're watching on TV, the movies, the music and shit. It's interesting, like, because you get to know these people as time's gone on, and like you use the internet, and like they just find it fucking bizarre because you are like almost the furthest removed country in the whole entire world, and it's like, you know, we were watching the same shit just maybe 2 years later in New Zealand that you guys were into like at the same time.
And it's cool that like, you know, even from the iconography that you use or the references that you do use with whether it's music or say Nintendo 64s or old school console gaming on TVs that didn't have flat screens. That era. Because like you're born 94?
Yeah,
91. So it's like around those 90s. It's just a special time before, you know, you experienced dial-up.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's
like, the feeling of like actually like a corded. Before we even, I don't think mum and dad had an answer machine until probably like maybe start of 2000.
Yeah,
but it's that kind of like learning how things have changed around you. But
I didn't even
like a sponge.
I had dial up till 2012, because my parents were just not really like that of the internet at the time. We were probably like the last family in fucking town, you know, to get broadband, and I got it because I got a job. But I mean, I'm like back at high school, I used to like take my USB into school and round to my mate's house and just write lists of shit down that I wanted to download, you know what I mean? Shit like
days,
that. Yeah.
Because you were like saying like just when we were popping up and like we were real groovy and you were kind of selecting some CDs, but like you still been on your iTunes or on your like music collecting buzz, and that's kind of cool, bro. Like because it kind of time capsules.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Like, the amount of work of like, I've collected this. It's I do random references of like Pokemon and Pokedexes. I don't know what I'm on half the time, but like it is kind of like you feel special when you like you find this one song that even you've been trying to find for ages or you hear around. Yeah, and that the process of being able to find that song, it's kind of in an old school way. It isn't just immediately just like Spotify. Boom. Yeah, here it is. Like, there's a lot of like meaning.
There's like a journey. Hunting. There's like a journey and a process. Especially like touching back on hunting. Like I put a lot of it down to my dad, like, and not having the internet, and just pillaging like real groovy sales tables. Like I don't know if you saw me yesterday. I'm not going to go to the record store and look through the fucking normal sections. I'm a real sales table sort of person.
Like and you you like that CDs.
I'm like
tangibilities of.
I'm definitely like big CD man, like
CD collector.
I guess as time goes on, you know, just revisiting, putting an album on and kind of like listening to it in its entirety, which we kind of try and like when we're doing our compilations and stuff. Like there is definitely that sense of like this music's made predominantly to DJ and play with other music, like blend and mix it at the same time. But we definitely want our albums to be, you know, back to front, enjoyable listens. Like, there is like a, you know.
And kind of your love of like compilations in the earlier days of those Foot Mahis is like, it's not just like, hey, here's your favorite track from the song because there's so many different artists. It's kind of encouraging people to listen to front and back. Yeah. Mix it up, put it on shuffle, whatever it is, but just learn different things. Like, it makes sense why you like love those CDs. And probably what is your favorite compilation of all time? Like,
probably like for my 6th birthday, I got Teen Spirit. I got it at Kaipo Aquatic Centre, and it's like I'm pretty sure it's an EMI one, and it has Depeche Mode, Placebo, Limp Bizkit. Fucking trying to think who else. Really cool one. Pretty generic. Like I was never really like a now kid, you know what I mean? Because like we're too cool for that shit. But like, fuck, it sucks. Like I'm trying to think. I think it's like. There's another one, I think it's Wildside Records, which is like an old Christchurch label, which had like stuff like Slim and like I'm pretty sure it had like She Hard on it and shit like that. I mean, there's so many, but just the idea of the sampler and shit. But and like, you know, you find these like there's like even just like generic weird ones like I think there's these ones called Hot Shot that you'd get from the warehouse and shit, and like this shit's like, you know, kind of made for an overseas market, but when it finds its way to New Zealand and stuff, it's like a powerful thing. Just vice versa, when our compilations are finding their way to America or something, and people are listening to that, it's like creates that same sort of feeling.
It's awesome, man. It's kind of like when you make a compilation or if you make a product and being now it's, you know, it's easily accessible where you don't need to have to put it into a mailbox and then send it over in a physical package on a plane. on a blade like Airbus or something crazy with a blue sticker for the the fast mail or
Fucking
air mail,
cargo
ships, but like it is that kind of same principle of like you're creating something that you don't even know who's going to be listening or obtaining it, but it's the beauty behind that mystery of it could actually, to your point, and when you saw that you got your favorite compilations or you got your you pick up a tangible CD or a vinyl and you listen to it, that feeling of joy the first time you hear something that's a bit different. Like you'd hope that someone else had that experience when they listen to any compilations or any work that you do put out.
Yeah, or like, you know, back in the day you used to go to Real Groovy and like try and find the CD or record of this person you've heard on the compilation, and as time goes on, like you've got the internet, so you actually got way more power to just like, oh fuck,
true stuff.
I like this track, look it up, boom. It's like a rabbit hole, you know, and then you've like found a whole sort of discography of like a band or like a producer that you've never heard of before.
We're going to come in the Wikipedia revolution, so to speak.
Yeah.
Power on the Wikipedia. Did you ever do like look at Wikipedia and you, there's someone that you know, whether it's, I don't know, whether it's a record label or whatever it is. I know I did this a lot in my music kind of hunting journey of you go and listen to an artist and then you fall in love with them and what they were about, and Wikipedia was quite early then, but they had like associated acts and all the links, and I just kind of went through rabbit holes of this whoa, and learning the science of, you know, more. But that's when I started learning a little bit more about producers or record labels or it isn't just America, it's, you know, things like Chicago, the difference between Chicago and like New York or London, and when you discover things like Footwork, and it's just amazing of just like learning about cultures and what they actually represent to them, and how in this kind of day and age of internet it impacts us because we look at everything so far removed. But
I definitely think like not so much. I mean, I still do Wikipedia like every night. Every time I watch a documentary or some shit, I'll fucking go on some rabbit hole. But like SoundCloud and Bandcamp, rabbit holing on that.
Yep.
Like, you know, people used to sort of be like, you know, how do you find all your tunes? I feel like I don't have enough time in the day to be able to find all, like, you know, back when the internet was like, and music was a bit more limited and like it wasn't as cheap to produce. Everyone didn't have the gear, didn't have the internet. You did feel like you could probably, like, if you fucking tried really hard, you could find all the music in the world almost. Whereas now it's impossible because it's just like
so far reaching,
and saturated and like, and
while
not
we're
necessarily in a bad way.
And while we're having conversations, like people are constantly releasing and making stuff in different countries, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess a lot of people frown upon the saturation of it today, but like, you know, you're always like of the belief that you can release the best thing you've ever done, or you might find the best song in your life. Like, and if you didn't feel like that, you'd stop looking.
And I'm a firm believer of, I've got massive respect for people who, we talked about it on the show for a few other people, but like always got respect for people, and we touched on it, of if you've got an idea, you do. You execute. Like I've always got respect for people who have an idea and then execute it. Yeah. Or you're achieving by doing. Yeah. And by doing, you got my respect because like you're doing. You know, and you're learning from the doing, and
it's kind of like,
it's interesting.
It's like fishing or some shit, and like how many, I don't really know how to fish, but like how many rods you've got out, like how many ideas you pursue and execute. Like, you know, you never know what one's gonna go well, and then you never know what, like, you know, you put your heart and soul into something and it could flop, and then you can, you know, the world's such a transient place, like you could just kind of do something on a whim and then it really takes off and shit, you know.
And even if it like flops, you never know that like in 2 years time someone's going to discover it, and it's,
like some Shakespeare shit,
it becomes perfect timing or whatever. You just don't know, bro. But, what I'm going to get you to do now, brother, is like there's like a stack of kind of records, because when you first came around, you're like, yo, some different records that you kind of picked up, and I want you just in front of us, just like quickly just show the camera what these records are.
Cool.
Because it's kind of again, we're kind of incorporating the sort of records into this whole like new way of doing things, but music's such a powerful thing that it's cool that various sort of collection, but there's at least a couple that resonated with you, bro. So
yeah, I must say you got an interesting record collection, bro. Like,
it's weird.
yeah. Like, no, it's really cool. Like, I don't really go many places where I like don't, you know the bulk of the collection. Like I guess I would maybe like not listen to it, but yeah, you had some total gems. So
Yeah.
guess we'll start off with Danny Brown, Hot Soup.
Yeah.
Danny Brown was probably like the last artist that I like pursued like a child that would put posters, like I didn't have Danny Brown posters, but like, you know, put posters all over the room and fucking be really obsessed with and shit. That was kind of the end of my childhood.
What made you like obsessed with Danny Brown?
I don't know, like same with the Footwork, jerk
like
culture.
Out there, weird.
Really like, relatable, quite street vibes and shit, you know.
And being authentic about like he can kind of just say whatever, do whatever, but then it's kind of art and it's in terms of how he was kind of sending his message.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And there's some fucking really good songs on this, like Dance, definitely like one of my favorite Danny Brown songs. I think Danny Brown was the last artist that I had like everything that he'd ever done. Like I trolled the internet just getting all those old mixtapes and shit, which you can't really find anymore, like
and
Detroit State of Mind and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like people like talk about like Detroit and there's like, you know, there's obviously Eminem, Rest of 5'9", D12 and all that stuff from a hip hop standpoint. But like Danny Brown, I was like, he's just on.
Yeah.
Like, and he's so much older with a lot of his peers that came up as well. Like he's very like this crazy like.
Well, I love
like,
Triple
OD.
X, like the 30 album, you know, because he's like 30 and shit. Like you're 30. It's not necessarily like some
crazy.
people get really upset about being 30, you know, because it's the end of your 20s, and he's like, yeah, I'm 30, bitch.
30, like 30's on.
Yeah.
30 is on, guys. Turn 30 this year. It's on.
Hard out.
You know, because it's just. 30's cool. You flip it around the other way. It's 03. It's my third decade. So, whoa, that was crazy. Next record before I sway the decisions.
MIA, Carla. Yeah.
On.
And this, what a beautiful record, eh?
Yeah, if you guys, a little bit of explanation on this, like, it's Vinyl Me Please. Go and check out Vinyl Me Please. They just have, it's kind of holographic. But
it's like a rare Pokemon card.
It is a rare Pokemon card. It's just on. And I'm just real big on, I mean, like, it's cool to be able to talk about music when you hold it in your hand.
Yeah.
But, like, if you, like, had a poster and you're like, oh, why do you like that artist? Like, you know, if you had Danny Brown on there, like, you could list the first time you got that poster and why you put it up in that particular location.
Yeah. I mean, I've
Why do you
always
love that album.
I've always found with her, she's like the whole package. I mean, like, the design of this album's cool. She's highly relatable and shit.
So she does her own designs.
Yeah. You know, she's, like, super multicultural.
She's genre bending in her own way as
yeah,
well.
Fuck
Very
yeah.
ahead of her like time, or just like really like forward thinking.
Yeah.
In terms of what she does and what her output is, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I guess like she would have been a really big introduction towards electronic music for me, you know what I mean? Like I didn't really get raised around much electronic music, to be honest. It was definitely the thing I kind of found on my own. I'm not saying I wasn't, but like it wasn't something my parents were like necessarily into, you know what I mean?
I remember like MIA around that time, it was that kind of that start of that mainstream sort of rise of like dancehall and kind of like early Diplo, like Florida album and like Santa Gold and Switch and all that sort of stuff. Like Santa Gold's like one of my favorites around that time because it was like MIA and then Santa Gold, and I really got into that. That was probably my seventh form.
Yeah.
And it just like the sounds were so different.
Yeah.
And then you kind of look at the 10 years post that.
Yeah.
It's kind of the starting early of bringing that to the complete soundscape of music to that mainstream, which is kind of buzzy.
Yeah. I mean, like when, you know, me and my dad used to be obsessed with C4 and like just record heaps of shit off there, like Insomnia and stuff like that. Just just fishing, you know, for new music and shit. And Bucky Dungun, you know, that's fucking such a cool track. And yeah, I just loved it. And big shout outs to Camilla Martin, Intellectual Property. It's probably my favourite show off there.
It
was a solid one.
I know, off C4.
Yeah.
This I remember like
late night shit.
Late night shit, like even like Hollow Hour wasn't too late night, but like Hollow Hour for me was just like my teachings. Hollow Hour.
Flashbacks.
Yeah, and then there was the freestyler one with Tallulah Blakely or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
This is hip hop and R&B because that was just my thing. But
yeah, I love those theme shows. It's probably where a bit of the compilation theme sort of come from as well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nothing bad about chucking a fucking theme on something and trying to work within like, you know, constraints and shit.
And that feeling of like listening to something or seeing a music video for the first time.
It's like
Such
back then,
time.
man. Especially back then, you didn't have the fucking like internet like we had it now. Like, it wasn't no YouTubes.
But you still have those feelings on a digital thing when you see a music video that you kind of unexpectedly, when you're a favorite artist or DJs, that you see a set or something, and you're like, wow, like this is like a new episode of a favorite series to me. Like, that's how I see music videos.
It's hard. Like, it's hard these days, because like you just got so much content like kind of put your way. I don't think it's necessarily because we're getting older. It's just more the time you live in. Whereas back then, it's like a treat to find something new. You know what I mean?
And it's a process because like kind of we're talking about vinyls. Like, you didn't have the internet to download stuff. It wasn't in your pocket.
Yeah, we had LimeWire. I have to take fucking whole night to get a track.
Even before that, it was like CDs, cassettes, or even if you wanted to learn a little bit more about music, like
pay for it.
Our publications weren't really showcasing those music scenes. Like for hip hop back then, like it's like hip hop wasn't. This was like early, like late 90s. Like it wasn't. The publications were like XXL and the source that you would get at the odd magazine store that were on it.
Yeah.
And then like you read everything back to forth, but now it's super accessible where you can just go.
Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah.
Got another one, brother.
Cool.
Yeah. It's kind of like cool that you selected this one because this one's just we're kind of like it's just very monumental for like DJ and like hip hop culture. Like it's a monumental track. About that.
Yeah, so my last one, Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5, the message, speaking of C4, I think it was there's a crossover show, like Holler Hour and Flashbacks, and it was called like Hollerbacks or some shit like that. And they actually played the message for the first time on New Zealand TV in 21 years or something like that. And it's the first time my dad like really got me to listen to the lyrics of a song, and I think that just made me fall in love with hip hop as like a 7 or 8 year old. Like, it's just such a powerful song and like a really cool album on top of that. But like, you know, just fucking wild, eh?
But it's cool because like Grandmaster Flash isn't the rapper, like he's the DJ.
Yeah.
So it's like the DJ's tune, but like the rapper, like it's just amazing marriage. Like that song was probably in hip hop. It is in hip hop culture, like. One of those ones of just like, whoa.
Well, it just flips it, eh? Like,
crazy.
I guess, like it was like...
vivid imagery in word form.
Yeah, and it's not gangster per se, it's just fucking real, you know what I mean? And it made me understand the struggle of the world, I think. Like, you know, and it's fucking timeless. Like, it applies today as much as it did back then, if not slightly more so, you know?
Totally, man. Like, even just like listening back to like, just... Even looking at the video clip or even just listening to it, you can close your eyes and it makes you feel like you are over in like
the ghetto or some shit.
Yeah,
Bronx,
but
like
the power of music. Like, do you find that with a lot of different music that you have in your repertoire, of whether you play as a DJ or that you listen to wherever you are, like you have those moments of like reflection of like, whoa, like this just really transports me somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's really hard, and like I guess with that it's not necessarily like a nice feeling with the message, because it's not really like a happy thing. Like it's a really serious thing, which I guess I try to do the similar thing with dance music, but like when I'm DJing it and shit, but like make you feel like, you know, remind you of a good time or something like that. But again, like I don't think I've ever heard a song like the message that has like made me feel like that. It's probably the most powerful piece of music in like, you know, modern day history.
Amazing. It's just timeless.
Yeah, totally.
Which is awesome, bro.
Yeah.
But bro, I know that like by the time we did this, because if this wasn't premeditated, you need to kind of get to watch for the league. Because who's playing tonight, bro? Who is playing tonight? Who is your team?
Warriors, bro, all fucking day. New Zealand Warriors versus
is it
North Queensland Cowboys.
It's a common phrase for this, but is it their year?
Of course it fucking
is.
It's always is. Yeah. Until the fucking fat lady sings and it's all over.
Till the lights go off.
You know, like all that matters is making the top 8. Then it's a fucking new game when final series starts.
Yeah. And this is kind of like regardless of having those sort of things that you believe in, or whether it's artists or sports teams or just movements or whatever it is that you have this deep passion for.
Yeah.
Uncontrollable. I remember we were watching some league in the background while we were listening to some tunes, but you're kind of explaining to me that it's going to be a funny look on the airport when you're playing your game, like watching your game. Because it was tame last night because it was teams that you're not really invested in.
Yeah, totally.
But like when you listen to a game, you're like, someone says, it's time to board the aircraft. I was like, no, yeah.
It's
going to be like something like that.
Like it's the fucking last 10 minutes, the end of the game, the results what counts, and that's when my boarding time is, So it should be an interesting one. I'm hoping we're going to be up by, I shouldn't jinx it, but I'm hoping we're going to be up comfortably so I can just get on and not have to worry,
bro, that's on.
But I've only missed one game in the last 10 years or so, When I was working an overtime shift at New World, I'll never fucking forget it. It's all good though. We lost to Manly by 1 point, so I don't really want to watch that shit. But
yeah, it's crazy, bro. But before I let you go, there's 2 things I'm gonna do, bro.
Yeah.
First thing is just this year, bro. Where are we now? We're in kind of
May.
Are we? We are May.
Yeah,
May
the 2nd.
Yeah, May the 2nd, 2 days before May the 4th be with you, but don't want to timestamp things. But now you know that it's May the 2nd. But what do you like? Is there things that you want to if you were to look back at the end of this year, is there kind of things on the horizon, bro? Is this kind of is there things coming up that you want to talk to people about that it's kind of upcoming, or what's the vibes, bro? It's on.
So we're dialing back our output a little bit this year as far as releases. I think we dropped 15 releases last year, which had a lot to do with COVID, and everyone's at home, everyone could actually work.
And that's the reason why you put so many out.
Yeah.
Really I
was just in the zone, there's this weird thing, it wasn't a flex or anything like that. It was just fuck it. I just had a year, everything was working really well. I knew I had to kind of take my shit seriously this year and start studying and kind of tie the end of my adult life up and shit so I could have a job, maybe post all of this. But
that's cool though.
Yeah,
so I respect it, bro.
Yeah, so we scaled back a little bit because I started doing my bachelor, but we've got Foot Mahi 2021 coming out. Yeah, we've changed it from last one was volume 5, now we're doing 2021.
You're more making a statement that this is the Foot Mahi for the year.
Yeah, for the year.
Yeah, that's on.
And that's coming out in celebration of New Zealand Music Month on Friday, which is Bandcamp Friday, of course, first Friday of every month, where they waive all their artist fees. So, all the money that, and it's always, we always release everything for free, name your own price download. So you can fucking pay 1 cent and I'll get 0.25 cents or something, 0.025. But
that's on.
Yeah, so we've got Foot Mahi 2021 coming out. Got another couple of serious compilations coming out this year. More in tune with I think we might do break beats from the Uncommon Wealth, maybe 2021 as well.
Okay.
And then we've got probably going to do Project 64 VIP number 4, and we had Project Blue Belt, which is the Dreamcast one, come out a month ago. But hopefully we get some sort of steering away from the compilations a little bit, do some EPs and just maybe splits, or just focusing on some of the artists we work with, Ultraviolet, Claire Lamure up north, bro DJ Rugged Shark, and just put a bit more of a spotlight on the artists individually,
Go you rather than just one track on compilation.
Just
making it this is investing in that one period of time for one artist, for them to do so much stuff surrounding.
Yeah. But I mean, all of that stuff's always a little bit up in the air, considering everyone pretty much has full-time jobs or studies, and it's always a labor of love, and you don't really want to rush anything, you know what I mean?
You don't want to force things for the result to be. Once you start forcing things, it just kind of, with anything, right? You might get some result, but it's a bit harder to push in.
Yeah, totally.
That's dope, bro.
Yeah.
That's on. So I'm sure you'll be back up here, and you already know the vibes. You're welcome back here anytime. But
hell yeah.
Before we go, there's one thing. It's funny that you did the whole MIA colour thing, but I'm gonna stand up. Everyone knows that this is a sort of Kiwi show. It's a gimmick. I don't know, but there's this one here. Sorry for the drop of the vape, but
oh fuck yeah, shot brother.
MIA XXO remixes, which I know that off the camera you're talking about collecting some MIA, And that's just my gift to you, bro.
Oh, thanks, man.
It's just cool, just like having in the last 24, bro. It's cool.
Yeah.
Just having these yarns, and this wasn't even premeditated. Like, it's just cool vibes, just sitting down with someone who is doing that real Foot Mahi.
Yeah, bro.
And just, I just got respect for everything that you do, bro.
Shot, brother. Really appreciate it.
It's on. And yeah, it's been that. It's on. And thanks for just coming through, talking through some records. And yeah, just you always know that the couches are free for you every time that you come up, because it's kind of some vibes.
Hell yeah.
But
Thanks for having me, man.
Oh no, all good, bro. The last thing that we'll do, I keep saying the last thing we'll do, but I keep adding to it, so this is the last thing. It is New Zealand Music Month, but it is this platform at the end where we always play a New Zealand song, right? Because we always have any opportunity with any platform that we do to showcase some change.
Yeah.
And it can be anything, bro. Like, we played like a dope as like intro.
Yeah,
Earlier on, which is just on. But what would you like to play to ride out on, bro? You just play whatever in there, and talk to us as to why this song and what it means.
I totally know what I'm going to play. I didn't think about it, but it's just popped to my mind. It's a song called Auckland Tonight by the Androids. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it's from like 1981, like a really old Kiwi song.
Awesome,
and yeah, I just like, I'm super obsessed with New Zealand music, and somehow I only just found this song like a week ago or something, and I was like, I was coming up to Auckland, and I was just kind of like, fuck yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome, bro.
Sort of like punk rocky alternative vibes. But
that's mean, bro. But again, bro, thank you so much for your time. Just have a safe flight. Until the next time you come up, like, it's gonna be on.
Yeah.
So there's explain. So what's the track again, brother? So the Androids Auckland Tonight.
Yeah.
Man, it comes off me just watching some Dragon Ball Z and some Androids, so like kind of like it comes full circle. But again, bro, thanks, and thanks for everyone out there listening to it, watching this on whatever device or whatever platform. Very much appreciate your time listening to this, and hopefully you learn a lot more about what this brother does, because it's on.
Yeah.
So right out to this song. Thanks, team. Catch you on the next one.
Big ups. Up the Warriors.